Thank you so much for being here. I've got something weird on my glasses. That's funny. I'm seeing myself. It's like, okay, I need to clean my glasses a little bit. Anyway, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. So remember that the Empowered Immigrant Live is here to train, teach, inspire, and empower immigrants to make the most out of immigration law and to make the most out of their lives. Okay, today our theme is, what does it mean to warrant a favorable exercise of discretion under immigration law? Like, what is the whole concept of discretion about in immigration law? And so let's talk that through. And as always, I like to ask, like, are you wanting to get a green card this year? Are you wanting to apply for some kind of immigration benefit this year? Citizenship, asylum, U visa, parole in place, whatever the benefit might be. Is this year your year? Do you want to at least see what your options are? At least see what happened in the past that might hold your immigration case back, whatever. Do you want to get clear about your immigration strategies so that you can improve your life through immigration law? And do you want to start something this year? Because if so, man, go for it. All right, go for it. My firm is on a mission to win 10,000 immigration cases in the next 10 years, and we would love for your case to be one of them. All right? So thank you, and thank you all so much for being here. So, yeah, as always, I'll do this topic in English, and then we'll also do this topic in Spanish. And so if you speak Spanish, at 11 a.m. Pacific, so in 45 minutes, we'll start this episode in Spanish, and you can feel free to join us there. All right? And, of course, join us here as well, and everybody is welcome, and thank you all so much for being here. So before we get into the topic, I want to discuss some news. All right? So for everybody that is paying attention and following the Parole in Place program, the Biden Keeping Families Together Parole in Place for Spouses of U.S. Citizens program, all right? That program has been paused, and it's still paused. And just yesterday, the court announced that it's going to continue to be paused through the 8th of November now. Through when? Who's got it? November 8th. That is 1 month from today. All right? And so, keep coming back to our live sessions. We'll continue to give you updates on how that litigation is happening. All right? And so that's moving forward. We're going to see what happens by November 8th. And of course, you got to know, everybody knows, we're less than a month away now. We are less than a month away now from a federal election, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to impact the future of your immigration case. All right? We're less than a month away now from an election that will have a serious impact in the future of immigration law. And so you got to be aware of that. You got to be mindful of that. If you're a U.S. citizen, pay attention to how you vote in this election. All right? Like, your vote really will matter in this election. And one party understands immigration law and understands that immigrants are valuable to the United States, and the other party does not understand those things. All right, and I'm just saying it like it is. And so that's the truth on the topic of immigration law. And there's so much about immigration law at stake in this upcoming election. You gotta be aware of it. All right. So that's all I got to say about that. Now on for my topic for today. It's like, okay, what does it mean to warrant a favorable exercise of discretion under immigration laws? All right. Well, all of the PIP cases, one of the requirements is that you have to warrant a favorable exercise of discretion. But it's not just this new PIP program, all right, parole in place program. Asylum, you got to warrant a favorable exercise of discretion. DACA, you have to. Adjustments of status, you have to. Cancellation of removal, you have to. Many cases in immigration law have this requirement that you've got to demonstrate that you warrant a favorable exercise of discretion. And so it's worth it. It's valuable for us to talk that through. Like, what does that really mean? And how do you demonstrate that when you're applying for whatever immigration benefit you're applying for? Okay? And so I want to do just like an introduction to the topic to the concept of discretion. Okay? And so like where it often might come up, imagine that you are driving your car and imagine that you're speeding slightly. Okay? Imagine you're driving 60 miles an hour in a 50. Okay? You're speeding. And an officer pulls you over. All right? I mean, this has happened to me. I've got some speeding tickets, a couple, not too many. But one time this happened when I was single, and the officer immediately gave me a ticket. And another time, the officer pulled me over, and I was speeding a little bit. And then the officer saw that I had 2 kids in the back seat, and understood that I wasn't speeding that much. And the officer gave me a warning, okay? And different officer, different day, different location. There are times when any law enforcement officer has to exercise his or her discretion. They can choose. It's basically their right to choose, okay? They can choose to issue a ticket, or they can choose to give you a warning. And they can make that choice as a matter of discretion. Okay? And now if you're way speeding, if it's beyond a certain percent speeding, then they don't have that choice anymore. Now they have to issue a ticket. All right? And anyway, different police departments have different policies about what that line is, and it's like, but police department, law enforcement generally have some amount of discretion in how they choose to enforce the law. Okay? And that's where discretion arises from. And so in the immigration context, it is similar. Okay? An officer who's reviewing an application, or an immigration judge who's reviewing an application, has the power sometimes in their discretion to approve a case or to deny a case. All right? And when an officer does that, like this parole in place application, for example, they're supposed to follow certain protocols. Okay? And so when an officer is reviewing a case under their discretion, and as I'm talking, if you got questions, send me your questions. All right? I'll get to those as soon as I can, right? So feel free. Send me your questions. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Otis Landerholm. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Empowered Immigrant Live. Whatever platform you're tuning in from, welcome. All right. So when an officer is making their analysis under discretion, under their own discretion, an immigration officer is supposed to look at the totality of the circumstances, all right? And they're supposed to balance several factors. And I'm going to give you some of the factors that are listed in the regulations that they can look at, all right? So immigration officers can look at a person's immigration history. So if a person, for example, has long ties in the United States, a long length of time in the United States with no or with very few violations of immigration law, that is better for their discretion, right? Versus if they have a shorter history and many violations of immigration law, that's worse in an officer's discretion. Okay, so there's a balancing test. The second area is family ties. If a person has a large family who all, love and depend on the person that we're asking about, the officer will make a better finding of discretion. Versus if the person has zero family in the U.S., that'll be a weaker analysis of discretion. All right? That'll be weaker evidence in favor of their discretion. The third kind of area is medical conditions. If the person or if their family members suffer from any medical issues, that can be a factor in favor of discretion. If there's none, then maybe it's a factor against. All right? Any criminal history is a factor against discretion. All right? If there's no criminal history or very slight criminal history, that is better in terms of a favorable exercise of discretion. Okay? Connections to the community. If you've started a business, if you volunteer at your local church or school, or you coach soccer or something like that, all of that is positive in terms of discretion. If you're a strong worker, if your boss is willing to vouch for you, all of that goes in favor of your discretion. If you don't have those things, it's not as strong. All right? Information indicating that you're a public safety or a national security concern, right? If you've got arrests, for example, even if there's no convictions there, those can weigh against you. If you don't have those things, those can go in your favor. All of these things, it's like the immigration officers are not supposed to just latch onto one of them. It's a totality of the circumstances test. All right, we learn about this in law school. All right, it's like they've got to look at each of these factors and really take it as like analyze a person for their whole situation. If they're going to deny a case, they've got to analyze all of a person's situation to see if they really, if the negative factors outweigh the positive factors, or vice versa. Okay? So just to say that more clearly, if an officer denies a case based on discretion, not based on the legal eligibility stuff, all right? Like imagine this PIP thing. Well, you got to have 10 years of physical presence in the United States, and you have to have been married to a U.S. citizen before June 17, 2024. If you don't have those things, then they'll deny it not based on discretion. They'll deny it because you don't have the 10 years, or you don't have the marriage to a U.S. citizen as of June 17, 2024. Like you won't, if you don't have the legal requirements, then you don't have it. All right? But if you have the legal requirements and they want to deny the case on discretion, this is what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to, and this is really annoying with immigration law because sometimes it's like we can't fight on this very well. But they're not supposed to deny a case in a way that's arbitrary. I'll say that again. Immigration officers are not supposed to just say, hey, I'm denying you because I don't like you. All right? They're not supposed to deny a person because it's arbitrary or inconsistent. So if they're denying based on discretion, they are supposed to have a detailed writing where they show that they've considered the positive factors and the negative factors before making any negative decision. Got it? That's the way it works. That's the way it works. That's really what I wanted to explain today. All right? I wanted to explain that topic today. I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. Send me your questions if you have any. The conclusion of all of this is when you're working with your lawyer, right? When you're working with your immigration lawyer, the best advice is talk it through with your lawyer and include at least some good evidence to counterbalance any negative factor that might go against your case. For example, if you've got an arrest, all right, in the past, or if you've got immigration violations in the past that are weighing against your case a little bit, send some evidence in favor of your case a little bit so that it outweighs the negative. all right, so that you give the officer something to latch onto that can justify their approving the case if they decide to do that. You want them to do that, and you want to make it hard for the officer to deny your case. Okay? And so that's the way to maximize your chances of success, not just with this parole in place program, but with any discretionary benefit, whether you're in immigration court or whether you're applying in front of the USCIS. Okay? That's my talk. That's my talk for today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Again, my name's Otis Landerholm, and let's get into your questions. If you have any questions, send them my way. I'll do my best. We're here live. I'd love to answer any questions that we got. So perfumetry, cool name. I see your question, perfumetry. Do you just help immigrants inside of America, or can you help people outside get into the country? That's a really great question. There are instances. We have clients in other countries, all right? So the quick answer is yes, we can help people who are outside the country. We have clients who are outside the country right now looking to get in. And it's like it really depends on what the situation is in any specific case, all right? So if a person's been deported in the past, there are ways to bring that person back. If a person's eligible for a U visa or for a family-based petition, or if you have family members here in the U.S. who are looking to bring you in, those are cases that our office can help you with. Okay? If you're outside the U.S. and you've never come to the U.S. before and you don't have family members in the U.S. and you've never had an immigration court case, in that case, our office probably isn't the best office for you. Okay? And so that's, anyway, I hope that's clear. Hope that's clear and helpful. Alexia Zambrano, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. You say, hey, can you still qualify for a green card if you have 2 misdemeanors through a marriage? Oh, qualify for a green card through a marriage if you have 2 misdemeanors. Well, it really depends on what those misdemeanors are. Okay? And so the answer is yes, you can, and certain misdemeanors will disqualify you. So the question is never, is it a felony or a misdemeanor? The question is what type of offense was it? And we've got to look because certain offenses are they're categorically called, quote unquote, crimes involving moral turpitude. And if it's a crime involving moral turpitude, or if it's a controlled substance offense, or if it's there are certain other offenses, domestic violence offenses or crimes of violence, or if it's a quote-unquote aggravated felony, which is a term for immigration that doesn't necessarily mean it's a felony. All right, there are some misdemeanors that actually count as aggravated felonies under immigration law, which is crazy. Anyway, if it's one of those immigration terms, then you'll need a waiver or you'll have a problem with your immigration case. So Alexia Zambrano, the answer is yes, you might still qualify for a green card if you have 2 misdemeanors. You might need a waiver, though. We've got to look at that criminal record carefully. The best way to do that is let's start with a consultation. We can review that. Our office handles issues like that all the time. We'd love to look at it with you and explore what your options are. Okay? All right, I see a question from 777. Thank you for asking your question here. You say, what would be the best way to immigrate to the U.S. if I have a religious vocation and if I'm interested in a convent? Very cool. There is something called the R1 visa. It's a religious-based visa. That is not something that our firm handles. That has to be petitioned by the convent or the church or directly for your visa. They have to process your visa. It's not something that you apply for yourself, but that does exist, and there are lawyers that focus in that specialty. That is not my expertise. Okay? But very cool. Best of luck with that situation. Very cool. So let's see, Alexia Zambrano, what happens if they submitted a parole in place and got arrested after? Can they still be approved the PIP? All right, the regulations say that if you have pending charges, you cannot get approved for the PIP. But just because a person was arrested doesn't mean they have pending charges, right? If a person was arrested, hey, they might dismiss all those charges. They might not pursue or not even file charges. So you got to look at it super carefully as to what the status is. But if you're facing charges in court, they will deny your PIP case. Okay? But that doesn't mean you can't get a green card. It just means that they'll deny the PIP case, and then you might need to consular process, or you might need to find out some other way. All right? The next question is Excellent 47. Thank you. Cool name. You say, I submitted an RFE for my I-693. What's next? Well, the question there, that's a good question. The question is have you already had, so I assume this is a marriage-based interview, a marriage-based adjustment of status case, right? And if that's if that's the situation that you're in, then cool. All right, that's a common scenario in a marriage-based adjustment of status process. So if that's your situation, Excellent 47, then the question is, have you already had your interview or not? And if you've already had your interview, then your next step is to wait for an approval notice or a decision. All right, and if you haven't had your interview yet, then your next step is wait for either a new RFE or wait for the interview. Okay? So that's that. Very cool, you guys. Very cool. I think that those are all of our questions. Those are all the questions that I see here in front of me, at least. And so thank you all so much for being here. I think that's it. If you still have a question, feel free to submit it, send it my way. You know, I do like to share an empowerment tip today, so I'll do that before we wrap up. You know, my tip today is about productivity. Productivity, and the question is, how much are you able to get done every day? You know, if we want to keep our goals moving forward, if we want to accomplish something in our lives, it's like, how do you keep yourself organized so that you can check off every single thing that's on your to-do list, or so that you can get as much accomplished so that by the time you go to sleep at night, you're like, wow, I had a productive day, right? And in there, it's like, how often do you allow distractions and interruptions to come and take your focus away from what you're actually trying to achieve or get done that day? And what would happen if you could just increase your productivity, right? To learn a little bit more or get a little bit more done and accomplished every day. Like, it would probably allow you to achieve your goals a lot quicker, right? If you could just get a little bit more done every day. And so how do you do that? You know, that's a tricky thing to be able to do. And so my tip today is to create a small discipline about it, right? Create a small discipline, whatever that is for you. For me, it's like, okay, consistently write down what you're intending to get done. Like, you got to capture it, right? Otherwise, if it's all in your head, then it doesn't work, right? It'll just cause us stress. So at least one of the steps is to create, and for me, I found this super helpful, create a small discipline, carry around a journal, carry around an app, however you want to do it, where you can get it out of your head and write down what you are wanting to get done, right? Anyway, I wanted to share that today. I hope that's useful. I hope that's helpful. Think about your productivity and challenge yourself to just be slightly more disciplined in that area. You'll be able to achieve whatever you want to achieve, whether that's immigration status or whatever you need to get done, right? It'll help you achieve more. So I hope that's useful. Hope that's helpful. Thank you all so much for listening. So let's see. I got a couple of other questions have come in. La Tamarinda. All right, I'm going to take La Tamarinda, Ben Joe, Angelica Fernandez, and Excellent 47. I see your notes there, and then that's it. And I'm gonna stop there. So La Tamarinda, you say, can I take my undocumented parents to my oath ceremony? Thank you. You know, you should be fine. You should be fine. And, well, depending on your situation, once you're sworn in as a citizen, you probably, well, talk it through with a lawyer. Depending on your parents' situation, you might be able to petition for them and you might be able to fix their immigration status. I've never seen any person like rejected or asked their own immigration status and stuff to enter an oath ceremony. You should be okay. All right, make sure that they at least have a driver's license or some kind of an ID for that. Yeah, you should be okay there. That's a great question though, and congratulations that you're about to have your oath ceremony. Okay, very well done. Okay, so Ben Joe, you say, hey, I have a pending removal proceeding because Mr. Sessions didn't exercise his discretion right on my asylum case. Well, hey, Ben Joe, I'm really sorry to hear that. And Jeff Sessions, if that's who you're talking about, was pretty horrible, right, for immigration law and for immigrants nationally. And so I'm sorry to hear that you're in that situation. And it's like, okay, let's fight that case, right? Let's fight that case. So I hope you've got a lawyer. I hope you've got, you know, I hope you're like building that case to maximize your chances in front of your immigration judge, right? So, you know, sometimes like with asylum especially, you might lose in front of the asylum office as a matter of discretion, but you can still win in front of the judge. And now it's a question of, okay, what are you doing and what are you working, how are you working with your lawyer to, you know, start volunteering at a community organization or start like building up letters from friends and colleagues, etc., so that you're building up your discretion as your case progresses, so that by the time of your individual hearing, you can show to the judge, look, here's a packet of people, of information, of evidence to go in favor of your decision, showing that I am a person of that warrants a favorable exercise of discretion. That's what is for you to work on, Ben Joe. And thank you for asking that question, and thank you for saying that. Angelica Fernandez, you say, my husband has a biometrics appointment for parole in place. I have the I-301 for him. Does he have to go again to the biometrics if PIP is not unblocked? I think you mean the I-601 for him. I think you mean the I-601 there. And if you know, the best advice is if he's got a biometrics appointment, go to the biometrics appointment. You know, there's no harm in going. There is harm in not going. So my best advice is just go, right? Don't overthink it. Don't worry about it. Nothing's going to happen. Just go to the biometrics appointment. That'll be great. That way that issue is done, all right? The only time it's unwise to do biometrics is if you've got a serious criminal history, all right? Because they're going to run background checks. But even then, it's like if you want to get the benefit, you know, sometimes it's wise to run FOIAs first. Anyway, Angelica Fernandez, my advice is that your husband goes to that biometrics appointment. If he's got a serious criminal history, then don't do parole in place because he won't be eligible. Talk it through with a lawyer first. But if he's eligible and if you have a lawyer helping you and if you know that he's got a clean record, you have zero to worry about. Like if he's even eligible for the I-601 that it sounds like you have pending, then it's like you're good. You know, don't worry about going to biometrics again. Just do it. Okay? So Excellent 47, I see you there. It's for your stepson. Okay, that's cool. That works. That's good. Laurie, I see you there. Hi, I'm at a fiancé visa. Can I change it to a green card? The best advice there is to not change it to a green card. Use the fiancé visa first and get the fiancé visa, enter the U.S., get married within 90 days, and then apply for your green card. If you've already started the fiancé process, then it's like the best thing to do is to see that process through. Okay? That's the best advice. All right, you guys, that's all I got for today. Thanks. Thank you for the interaction. Thank you for everybody for being here. Everybody on TikTok, thank you so much. Everybody on Instagram, thank you so much. Everybody on YouTube and Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, thank you. I really appreciate all of your being here. Yeah, that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. So my name's Otis Landerholm. I'm the founding attorney here at Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. If this is useful, if this is helpful, please give me a like or a heart or a smiley face or a thumbs up. And if you really want to follow our channel, please go to YouTube, type in Landerholm Immigration in YouTube, and hit the subscribe button. All right? That's the best way to stay informed as as we upload additional videos with updates and news and things of that nature. We are less than 1 month from a federal election that is going to have huge consequences on the immigration community, on immigration laws, on the future of immigration laws. And so be mindful of that. Let's stay in communication, in the next days and weeks about that. And the best way to do that is to subscribe to our channel in YouTube or follow us on whatever platform you're on is good also. But man, it takes 2 seconds. I recommend anybody who's getting value out of this to subscribe to our channel in YouTube. It's worth it. So that's all I got, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all so much for being here. My name's Otis Landerholm, Landerholm Immigration, A.P.C, where we fight for your American dream. And I'll see you next time on our next episode of the Empowered Immigrant Live. Thanks a lot. Make it a great day. Take care.